St. Brown the Trojan proudly presents a recap of the coolest game on earth. Ew, that's the worst one I've ever heard. Well, the NHL actually used it in a marketing ploy once, so that hurts. The Blues were about 75 seconds away from starting an insane cup run, while simultaneously sending the Jets back to Arizona. And then they did that, giving up 2 goals in the final few seconds, and then losing in overtime. And you know what? I can't even be mad about that. You guys fought hard, you have your coach for the future, and you have some promising potential. Just hope you don't turn into the next Toronto Maple Leafs. Really, the Montreal Canadiens, one of the worst teams in the entire league last year, made the playoffs this year. That's actually amazing. Too bad you didn't do any real damage in the playoffs and got knocked out in 5 against the Capitals. But still, that's a pretty big success for this group. Good job. I expect more of this in the future. Yeesh, you faced against a far superior on paper opponent, end up matching well against them, and then get broken in the most expected and unexpected ways at the same time. Marc-Andre Fleury, as good of a goaltender as he is, let the last shot against him go by him in overtime, and yeah, the series was practically over by then. Didn't help that an offsides call negated the goal earlier in the game anyway. That marks 8 straight first-round exits and no playoff wins in 10 years. I guess the Leafs' choking habits had to go somewhere. The typical result of any good Ottawa team, owned by Toronto even after 20 plus years of dormancy in the Battle of Ontario. Well, at least your talented forward core finally found a legitimate goaltender and got some real playoff experience. Now the question is though, can you channel this success into something greater? Or will you just fall apart again? The name of Mikko Rantanen shall haunt the Avalanche until he retires. A team who was horrible at comebacks all year and came back and won thrice against them. But games 2 and 3 weren't heartbreaking enough for them. Oh no. They need to blow a 2-0 lead in Game 7 in the third period. And it was evaporated by that same Mikko Rantanen. His revenge tour has been complete, and Peter DeBoer, the Stars coach, is now 9-0 in Game 7s. Some legacies would be seriously questioned in Colorado had it not been for that 2022 Cup. Yeah, the Devils were pretty much just limping into the postseason with their bunches of injuries they've received this year, and we're really lucky to even send it to 5. Maybe next time you can come back fully healthy, and maybe you won't face your owners and the Hurricanes. I mean, at least you made the playoffs. None of the New York teams could say that, and none of the Pennsylvania teams could say that. If we faced any other team in the first round from the Atlantic, we probably make it out of the first round. Put us up against Florida, and our aging core doesn't even stand a chance. Sadly, I don't think we're going to compete for much longer with this group, especially considering chances of a hopeful future with them are pretty much dashed since fresh and exciting prospect Isaac Howard doesn't even want to sign here. We're going to turn into the New Age Penguins, aren't we? Even with your fresh new home ice advantage, you got beat by the Oilers in the first round for the 4th straight year. You really have become Edmonton's legal property. Seriously though, something needs to change in LA and fast. The team, as good as its defense is, just isn't working out for the life of them. And if you run it back again, I might as well chalk you up as the fuel for another Oilers run. Please, Kings, do something. This is getting boring. Wow, I'm not even a Maple Leafs fan, and I feel like I need therapy after that. 3 straight games of Feel the Passion, save for a Brad Marchand OT winner, and then nothing. The team just vanished in thin air in games 4 and 5. But wait, you may say, there is hope this time. They actually pulled together in game 6. But then they do the same thing again in Game 7, losing 6-1 in the last two home games of the season, impossibly the last ride for this core. Well, if this is how they go out, they sure brought us a lot of laughs. The typical conclusion of a team hitting well above their weight class. When they meet actual legitimate contenders, they get beaten senseless like the Jets. Even though this really isn't something to be sad about since you had a decent run and probably the best moment of the entirety of the Jets franchise, it still feels crushing all the same. Rest in peace, Brad Scheifele. You made a good hockey player. Whatever I said about the Winnipeg Jets can also be applied to the Washington Capitals, as they ended up getting beat by Carolina in 5. The only difference is that Carolina is no Dallas, which makes this a little more embarrassing for the Capitals. Sadly, it may have been Ovechkin's last ride in the playoffs, considering he is retiring next year. The NHL is sure gonna feel weird without Ovechkin and Crosby on the Capitals and Penguins respectively. But at least for Washington, it seems like they've noticed that and seem to be building a path toward the future. What happened out there, Vegas? No, legitimately, what happened out there? That offense of yours, who is 6th best in the entire league as far as scoring goals, completely dried up. 10 goals in 5 games. Home ice advantage? Nope, they got beat in Vegas 3 times out of a possible 3. You would have gotten straight up swept had it not been for some crazy buzzer beater. If you never won that cup, this might actually be a possible start of a rebuild. But knowing Vegas now, they'll not do that. Let's think about this for a moment. The best team you've had in quite possibly years, bolstered by the arrival of the superstar looking to prove himself in Mikko Rantanen, and the guy who is literally 9-0 in Game 7s, and you get tactically spanked by Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and their ragtag team of destiny. Losing in 5, especially like that, honestly might get DeBoer fired. But you won't do that to Mr. Game 7, right, Dallas? That was such an embarrassing gentleman's sweep that I honestly wonder how you even made it to the 3rd round in general. Although the answer to that is most likely a weak Metropolitan Division. Look, I get Florida's supposed to be a budding super team, but you could have at least tried and not given them the confidence boost they needed to win the Stanley Cup. If there's any positive I can end this segment on, you at least finally won a conference finals game in 16 tries. Yeah, something tells me your tactics don't work when you face a good goalie. Not gonna lie, these playoffs have been kinda underwhelming. Some good moments here and there, but it would have been better if the series were more exciting in general. In fact, the finals themselves didn't see unexpected teams. This year, it's just straight up a rematch. Edmonton versus Florida, with practically the same storylines on Edmonton's side as well. Florida's trying to cement itself as a super team. Edmonton wants revenge for last year, as well as finally getting Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl their first cup. At this point, I think the most we can hope for is a good series. Gimme Florida in 6. Now go along and entertain us, you two. Psalms chapter 23 verses 1 through 4. The Lord is my shepherd, I have all that I need. He lets me rest in green meadows, he leads me beside peaceful streams. He renews my strength. He guides me along right paths, bringing honor to his name. Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff protect and comfort me.